Hello and welcome everybody to another episode of Jobless Weebs, number 138. I'm Brian, and from very far away,
I'm Marco the Star.
hello.
Man, yeah. If I'm shining, like I told you at the beginning,
Yeah.
it's not because I'm a star. It's because it's so freaking hot in here.
Oh yes.
How are you, Brian?
Brave chat. Doing pretty good. Yeah, I am. I had a great week. Watched a few of my favorite shows, so doing really well. And what about yourself?
You know, it was good. Monday was just a bit of a hectic day, but
Yes.
I finally solved the stuff that I went away for. So I'm finally ready to go back to the old recording studio. Or
Nice.
well, it's not that old, but
Oh yes.
the OG studio.
The OG studio. That's right.
and yeah.
Well, we're looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one more episode, either like the podcast or one more episode of the audiobook,
The audio.
and then we will be going back to normal. At least I hope so. So.
Oh yes. Yeah. Most definitely. But we didn't want to wait too long, so we have another episode today. We'll jump right into it. This anime I found kind of just like looking through on random anime lists, and I found this one, and I was thinking, oh, let's give it a try. We have done a few traditional music types before, and I wanted to give this one a try and see how it goes. So it was a fun watch. It kind of reminded me of Inoue with the types of themes and things.
If you would have not talked about it, I would have.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
You would have. Oh, most definitely, yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for mentioning that.
Definitely.
Well, rather
it's the traditional.
Yeah, rather Inoue would be making a comparison to this one, because this is from 2004.
To this one.
And
right.
Inoue is from 2022. So
yeah. Oh yes, much more recent. Yes, so the anime that we're talking about today is called Nitaboh from 2004. So yes, it's much more older, 20-year anniversary. So that's pretty cool for this year at least. And then the full title, you could say, it is Nitaboh, the Shamizen master, and it's the traditional playing of a 3-string instrument. It has a box shape and like a long neck. So I'm not sure like the history of the instrument itself or anything of that nature, but it's a very specific type of instrument. And of course, the setting is 1860s, just about that time era.
Yeah, it's at the end of the Edo period, right? Like right in the transition to the Meiji Era.
Yeah, and that's where we get a whole lot of Western influence and a lot of changes culturally and politically.
Yeah, and it is seen in the movie, and especially because, as you were saying, in the movie Inoue, one of the main characters in Inoue, he is a blind guy that plays the biwa, and he's kind of like a monk.
Yeah.
And in this one, back in that time on the Edo period, there were some kind of like traveling monks, if you will, in which they would play either the shamisen or the biwa, and along with that, they would sing stories One of the other things is that the shamisen was actually a little bit more versatile in a way that there were different types of shamisen. Like it would depend on the setting that it would be used, because it would be used, for example, for like the rakugo sessions, or for like the kabuki shows,
staged shows. Versus like more street style performances, and playing for houses.
And you could say that, and also at the same time, because we see it in the movie, and we will be covering it up. We see that the main character, he goes from a thin neck to a thicker one, just so that it would adapt to his style of playing. And this movie was really good. It was not so far off to the supernatural like Inuo was.
Like Inuo. Yeah, it stayed grounded with the different elements, with like the setting and like the people who would come into his life.
Yeah, and you can also call it to some extent historically accurate. Some of the research that I made myself a long time ago, and just a little bit as I was watching the movie, it's that this style, the Tsurugu shamisen style, was played by blind people. So the back at the time in the Edo period, it was not that common to keep a record of blind people, because they were kind of on a lower caste of the social status.
Oh, okay.
So it was not very common to keep written records. So a lot of it was just transmitted orally, like by the word of mouth.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also interesting, because they also do talk a little bit about that in some of the styles. But let's just start like we always do.
Yeah, absolutely.
With the beginning.
It's a very sad beginning. I mean, like the first scene is really cute, but we see the main character's childhood first, and it's his formative years. This first scene is cute when there's like a festival. It's like busy in town, and we see this boy. We see a girl chasing after a ball, and it goes into the canal, and it starts to get really too far away for her to get it. And then we see a boy jump in and grab the ball and give it back to her. And then she runs away. And then we see the dad come up to the boy, and he's like, "Oh, it's really great and stuff." He's a funny dad. Anyway, the next thing we know is the girl, she comes back, and she hands him a shell, a half of a shell. And it was just a cute moment where these kids are like interacting, and then we see the boy go home with his dad, and they live in a humble house. The dad is a ferryman. He takes his rowing boat across the river to ferry different people, different citizens to cross the river, and we also find out that the boy, he catches like a fever. He catches a really terrible, like I think it was like some sort of disease or a virus, but it leaves him blinded once he recovers. So now we see the story kind of develop from the boy being blind, but then going through and trying to like figure out his place in life.
Yeah, because because like especially in this time on the Edo period, like being handicapped reduced your opportunities in life by a lot.
Exactly.
And especially since his dad was a ferryman, so it's not like he was like the child of a noble or something like that, who so he was already hindered. But they didn't stop him, or like rather this didn't stop his dad, because his dad was very supportive. The kid found some refugee, if you will, by playing the flute, or like some sort of kind of like recorder. But there was one day that he heard a lady playing the shamisen, and this lady, her title was it a agase or something like that?
Ooh, I can't remember.
I think they mentioned something like that, and it was a title for women who played the shamisen, and and he got really curious about that, especially because his mom, who passed away while giving birth to him, used to play also the shamisen.
Yes.
So go ahead.
Yeah, and it's so for him it's a very emotional connection. And it even shows him following this lady, and she has a daughter too, so the daughter is leading her because she's also blind, right?
The lady, yes.
The lady, yeah. And so Nitaboh, or I guess his name at that time is Nitaroh, he follows her and just stays quiet like the whole time until they confront him, and even his dad comes over and they're like, what's going on? And he's very emotional, he cries, but he basically says that he wants to learn, he wants to play, and kind of pick up the shamisen as an instrument, and to learn how to play that. So the lady agrees, she teaches him, and it's a pretty quick like montage, you could say. We see her teaching him, and then they have to leave. She has to like leave the area since it's like about to be winter, and so, but she did teach him everything that she knew. So and then tragedy hits after they leave. For some inexplicable reason, the dad is forced to take over some people who want to cross the river, but it's during a storm and it's raining a lot and it's super windy, and the dad, he tries to refuse at first, but then they insist, and so they go over, and the dad is like, oh no, we gotta like go back to shore, and this is in the middle of the storm, and then the guys tell him, oh no, like keep going, and so like he tries, but then he gets washed over the side of the boat, and he's lost, and then the storm is over, but the dad is gone and apparently dies. But we never find out more about those guys who insisted that they had to cross during the storm.
Well, we did learn a little bit before, like during the beginning,
with the situation of
there were just two posters of with their pictures, like wanted posters of those two guys, that those guys were thieves.
It was those guys. Okay,
it was those guys.
I probably didn't
wanted,
make that
so
connection.
They wanted to escape.
Whoops.
And they thought, like,
Gotcha.
yeah, you know what? Like, it could be like a great idea to escape during a stormy season, or maybe like a mini tsunami.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, this was a huge blow for Nitaroh, because he lost his dad.
Mm-hmm.
And he essentially, again, he was handicapped. the things that he could do were not a lot.
Very, very limited.
And he also lost, well, not lost, but, he stopped having communication with the lady that taught her how to play the shamisen, and also with the daughter of that lady that turned out to be the kid that gave him the half shell, when he was able to see. And fortunately, he did had a lot of people who were with him, which this is one of the things that I would like to highlight, because later in the movie it becomes important, because the kid, for the longest time, he mentions that he is alone. And he always has like a friend with him that is around his same age, or some of the ladies of the village. And he's still a beginner on the shamisen, but in this period there's a famous group that we talked about, that it was some sort of like group of monks that were playing, and it was some sort of school, but it also had I would say you would need like a certain social status to get in, which he hadn't. And it was also one of his complaints to his dad, saying like, "Hey dad, why can't I play like that?" And his dad was like, "Well, you can play it, you can do whatever you want, but not under some circumstances." And he's like, "Well, why not?" He's like, "Well, don't ask why, just do it. Like, you don't really need the permission of other people to do what you want. Just do it. Don't let the fact that your father is like a ferryman to stop you." Or kind of like telling him, like, "You know what? Don't let your social status or your situation stop you from doing what you want." And even though he couldn't get into that famous school of shamisen players, he just decided to keep practicing, and kind of like when he had the farewell talk with his dad by the riverside, kind of like his dad's ghost, he told him like, "You know what? I'm gonna live by that. I'm gonna make a living out of this." And it was a bit of a heartbreaking set of scenes, because you see him playing as a kid, and a lot of people just closing the doors on him. And
because that's the way to make money for him. He would go up to the doors of the different people and try to play, and basically be paid to do that. But so many people reject him. Oh man, it was so hard for me to watch that, because it's like, I know the pain of going door to door, and oh man, it was really sad to see. But he really stuck it out. Like, some people liked his playing. Some people were eager to hear him play and pay, of course. And he lives this way, and he grows up, and the next time we see him, he's 18 years old. So he's basically an adult now, and he's gotten really good at playing.
Yeah, he has made his name in that village, and some surrounding villages, but he's mostly traveling like around a lot.
Mainly there.
And by this time, it's the beginning of the Meiji Era, and as you mentioned earlier, it's the beginning of how the West was introduced in Japan. How you see how a lot of people started kind of like disconnecting themselves from the traditions and embracing more, even the West fashion sense or technologies.
Technology. Oh yes.
And how a lot of these schools that we mentioned are no longer that prestigious or acclaimed.
Yeah, because of
you see
oh yeah, because sensibilities change, tradition, of course, is still there, but the idea of how you approach tradition changes. One of like the almost the very first thing we see is a slight conflict where uh, Nitaroh is playing, and across the way we have that school, and there's like five of them, and they're playing, and they're like, "Oh, this guy is too loud, and like he's not playing right. Like we're better. Like come over here, and you'll get like Buddha's blessings and stuff." And it gets to the point where they even start beating him up, and nobody lifts a finger. But then soon after, we see uh,
a
like a
policeman.
policeman, yeah, uh, and I kind of want to say like a Western style policeman, um, officer, I guess, and he goes up and he's like, "Hey, you like, don't do that. Like, can't you see? Um, you should like do that and stop that." So yeah, it was pretty interesting. And we also are introduced to a Japanese guy wearing a Western suit, hat, and he kind of gets drawn to Nitaro's playing. And he kind of starts becoming his fan. And we see a little bit more of him. So this man, he's a son of a brewer, a Japanese brewer, but the thing is, he came from the West recently, and he's very interested, and he's starting to do printing, and he even has a printing press. And are there? Do you remember if there are any like specific scenes that were important there?
During that time, besides after the fact that he was beaten up and almost
Beaten up.
mugged.
Oh yes, right.
Until he was saved. Yeah, even after he gains the interest of this guy, Yuki comes back.
Yes. Oh
The
yes.
daughter
Yuki comes back.
of the lady that taught him how to play shamisen, and tells him, like, you know what, my mom passed away a few years ago, and I tried to become an apprentice, but I wasn't that good. And also, it's not that she wasn't that good, but also earlier in the movie, she mentioned that she didn't like it that much.
Yes.
So, that also influenced a lot of whether you're good or not in stuff. And and she just started, being a helper with a merchant. And he's slowly introduced into Nitaro's life. And for this next part, you just see Nitaro playing, and how his style, it's different, or it's becoming different from this prestigious school, because this school goes by the book. It's like, this is how we're supposed to play, and this is how we're playing. And Nitaro, a part of him shows that he doesn't care if he gets attention or not. But the other part of him that is playing shows that he actually cares, that he wants to be listened. That's why he's becoming a lot more abrupt in his way of playing, and how he's playing harder and harder, just to manage to catch the attention of the people away from, these hundreds of maybe thousands of year traditions in the music world in Japan.
Yeah, and it's ingrained. And he also says how he wants to move people. He wants to reach the hearts of people, and basically like bring that along and into his music. I think one of the biggest scenes that shows that, when he's trying to kind of create his own style, or kind of reach his own playing, like master his own playing. He's playing on the side of the road, and he's going at it really hard, but then he strikes the chords, or he strikes the strings so hard they snap, and he even tears into the instrument,
the skin,
the shamisen.
the skin
Yeah,
of
the skin.
the instrument.
And so now his instrument is ruined, and he, of course, can't play anymore on it since it's ruined. And this is when part of the struggles and part of the conflict enters into the story. So he now has no instrument to play his music. And I think the next few parts are so awesome, where he's brought to one of those plays, and he sees people playing thick-necked shamisen, and then he's also given the opportunity to get a new instrument through this guy,
Japanese guy.
Yeah, and it's so great because it shows, as you were saying, these people who do appreciate his music, and they come together and support him.
And it was because, him was still feeling alone. And because,
right.
The shamisen, his mom shamisen, was kind of like the last strand that connected him to his parents. Because, even though he didn't meet his mom, it was, he has the shamisen, and he has his dad words of like, make a living with the shamisen. But then he broke the shamisen, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, Dad, I let you down. I'm sorry, Mom, I let you down. And I'm alone now. And he's like, no, you're not alone, you idiot. It's like, you have your number one fan. You have Yuki. You have your friend. And the amazing thing was how the people around him were the ones that were the proactive ones that wanted him to keep trying something else. Because it's like, you know what?
Okay.
That one broke because your style is changing. Your style has a lot of energy now. And the traditional style with that type of shamisen, it's for a more light-hearted, if you will. And they want to see some plays where the kabukis were, and they saw this thick neck shamisen, but then they were like, oh, but it's pretty expensive. And he was like, oh, well.
Oh, yeah.
I guess that's my dream. And
that's it.
That's how far I went. And, his fan was like, I really like him, and I want to see how far he can get. He just needs a new instrument. So he's like, I'll get him a new instrument. He sells his printing press. He lets down his father, the owner of the brewery. Because the father is like, you like this guy a lot, huh? Like, you like him enough to risk, I guess, your stability, your economic stability. And he's like, yeah, because I think he can do something even better. He just needs a push. And that was one of the things that I liked about the movie, because he gets the shamisen from his fan, but he's still really lost. He doesn't feel that connection.
He tries to play it, but it doesn't work. And then he's told, like, you need to find yourself. Now that you have an instrument, now you have to find, how do you want to play it? And this old guy told him about this, like, ritual or this training.
Yeah, he was an actual monk, right? Like he was Buddhist a monk.
Yes, he was. And he told him where to go to this, like, monastery place, and then and then you'll be taught like spiritualism, I guess. I wasn't too clear on that.
Yeah, so the way he talked to him was like he needed to implement, these martial art concept.
Oh yes.
Of the
yes.
What was it again? Shahire?
Shuhari.
Shuhari. That shu, the kanji that stands for protect or obey, meaning learn the basics, learn the foundation. Ha, that would stand for kind of like fight against it, meaning try to break the rules, try to be innovative. And then the ri in the kanji, that would mean create, I think. So kind of like bring something new, create something out of something else, something old.
Transform it,
exactly.
And so he tells him he's at that point where he's trying to, well, he already learned the basics. Now he's trying to break out of it, and now he has to transform into something new.
Yeah, and in order for him to transform it into something new, because everyone learns the basics. So you can support yourself with some other people, but if you want to create something new, that's actually kind of like a road that needs to be tread alone. Yeah. And he tells him about these blind female shamans that their names are Itake or something like that. I'm pretty sure if it's spelled correctly somewhere in here. Yeah. But these female shamans went through a lot of training just to be spiritually attuned, if you will, because their job was to channel the spirits of the dead to their loved ones. Kind of like a those were the beliefs.
Yes.
And he has one experience of that level, or like a series of experience after that, because the mom takes him to that shaman, and I was surprised how he decided to call his mom, because I was thinking that he was gonna call his dad.
Oh yes, right.
But
he wanted to talk with his mom.
He told the shaman, like, can I talk with my mom? And then the shaman started praying,
rubbing the beads,
rubbing the beads, and the mom manifested to him. And the mom ended up telling him, like, you know what, it's okay. It's like, breaking the shamisen,
right?
It's not a big deal. It's like the shamisen was not what connected you to me or to your father. It's like it's everything else, and don't feel bad because I died, because that was something that I was really happy about. And from here he starts to get in the determination to give his music meaning, not only to him but to the people who would listen to him.
Yes.
And so he undergoes this training, this pretty hardcore training, because
it sure is.
Because he was supposed to fast for 7 days, not sleep, and throw cold water over himself, just so that he wouldn't fall asleep or pass out. And
pass out.
And he was playing the shamisen like over this cliff. And just rocks, like meditating, and it was again another kind of like spiritual moment in which he was in the zone. I would like to call it like that. He was in the zone.
Yes, absolutely.
Because like everything else just stopped being important.
Yeah,
Like he
all
couldn't hear
falls away.
anything. He was, at the moment, he had another emotional exchange with his mom, his dad, the lady that taught him how to play the shamisen.
Yes.
And he found his answer.
Yeah. And yeah, it was really awesome, really incredible. And then we see him like come out of it, and he's determined. He's gonna play, and it's gonna be good. Like he's now figured it out.
Yeah, for the last event, there's gonna be a festival. It's in the same place where he met Yuki at the beginning of the movie, and it's against this school. Because I didn't understand, but I guess the school was just fighting to keep the tradition. Kind of like fighting to keep being stagnant in the same place. And not go and grow,
right?
Because I mean, I'm a terrible person for saying this, but they were all blind, but they were in a room that was lit up, and it's like,
yeah, I thought that was interesting too. No, actually, no, I thought of that the first time. Well, anyway, yes, yeah, I thought that was
I'm a terrible person, but for saying this,
no. But yes,
but there was this council of people saying like, yeah, you know what, we cannot have this guy gain more popularity.
Yeah,
because
we want to stay
not the tradition. And more because they wanted. I'd say that they wanted more. They were doing it more for the capital, like the money stuff.
Okay.
Of they already had a reputation, so they were like, yeah, you know what, like if it's not broken, why fix it? Kind of attitude.
Right. Yeah.
And so they were like, yeah, you know what? We challenge him in the festival, and if he loses, we will prove that we're still better. So we will have the best of our players, which is a young man, blind as well. That he seems to be a bit of a noble kind of like status, or like a well-off family. That he was actually interested in him. We saw him in earlier in the movie that in the moment that Nitaroh broke his shamisen, but the guy was like, yeah, I've been practicing like crazy the thick head shamisen, so I'm a master at it. And they're like, oh yeah, the master, yeah, we will prove that we're the best. And on the other side, kind of like Nitaroh had reached freaking enlightenment.
Yes.
Because his friend came and everyone was talking like, yeah, you know what, this guy is pretty good. And they were like, are you with this against this? Who's that? And Nitaroh was like, it's not a fight, we're just playing.
Oh, right. He casually says the information. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and everyone's freaking out because it's like, man, this is the battle of the century. And Nitaroh was like, no, we're just playing.
He's enlightened, man.
Yeah, we're just gonna play our hearts out, have a good time. And the day comes, and it's a big deal for the other people. And,
yes.
And you even have the rest of the crowd calling on these other guys' names. They're like, "Oh, you're the best!" And kind of like whistling and everything.
And it's a huge crowd. Everybody's
and
there.
the guy's really good.
But
again, the guy seems really mechanic, really to the book kind of thing.
It's very technical.
Yeah. And
and also
was like,
yes,
losing their minds over it.
Right, right. They're like, "Oh, you're so good." And also the setting was pretty interesting. They had both of them sitting up there on the mat, uh, on the stage, side by side. And so they're both sitting there, and yeah, everybody else in the audience, they're losing their minds. But it sounds really cool. It's very fast, for this first guy. Uh, and then he gets to the end, and everyone's clapping, but then we start to hear Nitaroh playing, and man, it's like it's like wild. It's fast sometimes, and then it has like different rhythms, and then he just goes fast again, and he changes it up a little bit.
Yeah, he has some pretty high notes, and he just like keeps repeating it. It's like, it's like, whoa,
oh yes,
whoa.
Just like that. And it's silent. Oh, but also we see some of the reactions from the other people. Like, of course, the other guy, he's like throwing his head down in frustration.
Oh yeah, because he recognized like, freak, like
he's like,
I'm good, but I'm not that
I'm
good.
not that good.
Or kind of like, I'm not kind of like my technique is good, but like he's playing for something different.
Yes, and that's the important thing in this. That guy, he was playing for tradition. He was playing for like reputation. But then Nitaroh, he was playing to reach the hearts of the people and like change them and I guess like enjoy it himself. Incredible. It was so cool. And then we also see like the other people's reactions, like the master of that school. He's like, "Are you kidding me?" He's like dumbfounded, and everybody is excited.
Yeah, Yuki is like, you know ovation. What? That's the sound of my Yuki. Mom too, and the rest of the people.
Oh, that was so
kind of like every time that he plays like a chord or something, it's like it's igniting memories in people's minds and moving their hearts.
And that was a beautiful thing. We see tons of different scenes, and it reaches people's hearts. Incredible. That is a must-see scene. I think, gotta see that.
And that's how it ends.
Yep.
It just ends with him finishing his performance, and right after the credits, it says like, he became the founder of the actual Surugu style, because the Surugu style was known for being, for the blind players, but it was with him that kind of like gained popularity in being a style with a lot of liberties. That he would gain a lot of pupils, but he would end up telling them, don't copy me. Monkeys can copy, but you're not monkeys. Create your own sound. And
play your own style.
I thought that was great. And
I think so too. Yeah.
And just finishing up the fan, the guy that that gave him the Shamizen, he decided to go to America and learn more about the printing process, newspaper, and all of that, because he was like, you know what, Nitaroh, he just needed a push to get what he wanted, but I'm
gonna follow my own dreams too.
He was like, I have all the stuff that I need to make my dreams come true. And I disappointed my parents, but that's all right.
That's okay. Yeah.
And oh boy, it was a really good movie, actually.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, I really liked it. Really good messages, and it is pretty similar to Inuo, with like breaking out of the tradition, breaking out of the norm, and like being yourself, but a much lighter note, a much brighter ending, I think. And yeah, it's just down to earth, It's good. It's good stuff. Mm-hmm.
Definitely. All right, yeah, that was it for for this episode. I hope you liked it. Yep. If you haven't watched it, go watch it. It should be somewhere, probably YouTube or something like that. You might be able to rent it.
Yeah.
I didn't check if it was on Crunchyroll, but yeah.
Ooh, I didn't check either. Yeah, but yeah, it was really good. Definitely worth it.
All right, yeah. Hope you like it. Keep watching anime, and we'll see you next week.
Till then.
Bye.
Matane.
Matane.